What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we are talking about Jurassic Park 3. So as a kid, I always really enjoyed this movie. I know that a lot of people hate this movie for some reason and feel that it's the worst of the first three, and I 110% disagree. I always felt that The Lost World was the weaker one out of the three. There's some big tentpole moments in the second movie, like I mentioned in my review, but yeah, altogether I always felt like it was easily the weakest one. It definitely just didn't have the characters and the narrative that ever like drove me or made me excited to continue watching as much as the first and the third one. Now the first one is easily my favorite of the first three, but the third one for me just brought it back home and was just an exciting Jurassic Park movie. I've always felt like it's got some of the most exciting and well-paced moments in the franchise. Some of the characters are a little dumb and just kind of there to end up getting eaten, but I feel like all of these films have that. I don't think they've been able to perfect it to the extent that they did with the first film. I really feel like that one was lightning in a bottle. So let's get a little bit further into this movie. This is the first Jurassic Park movie that is not directed by Steven Spielberg. Joe Johnston directed this one, and yeah, Sam Niell reprises his role as Dr. Alan Grant, and Dr. Grant was always one of my favorite characters in these films, especially the first one. You know, like I just loved him so much. So I remember whenever I watched the second one, as much as I enjoyed the character of Ian Malcolm, I always wanted Alan Grant to come back. And so when it happened with the third film, I was more than excited, and I really enjoyed his character throughout the film. Laura Dern also comes back to play Ellie Sattler, and yeah, I really enjoy her character. I really enjoy just the fact that they both came back into this film. Now, she's not a huge part of this film, which was a bummer, and not to get too deep into spoilers, but if you've seen the first movie, you know that Dr. Grant and Dr. Sattler kind of had a thing going on, and they no longer kind of go with that in this next film, or in the third film, I mean. And a lot of people really didn't like that right out of the gate. Personally, I didn't mind. You know, sure, it kind of took away from some of the elements as far as you know, the romantic elements and the character-driven moments between them. You know, it kind of sucks to know that after all those years they did not end up working out. However, I think one of the coolest parts about their relationship in this film is Ellie is now married and has kids, and she is still friends with Alan. You know, they still have this close relationship, and it's not one of those situations where you have an ex that you just can't get along with and all that kind of stuff. So I always really appreciated the fact that even in this film they have such a close relationship, even in the short screen time that she has in this film. To give you the basic synopsis about this film without spoiling it too much, Dr. Grant and this other character named Billy, who work together on a dig site, are being recruited for a job by this couple who is looking for their son. And at the beginning of the film, they don't necessarily tell him that they're looking for their son, but they need to go back to one of the islands with the dinosaurs on them because their son has gone missing. Initially, they get Dr. Grant onto the plane by telling him that he's pretty much going to be a tour guide, and they just kind of want to fly low and look at the animals while he, you know, gives them a tour of what kind of creatures they're seeing. But things end up going south, as they usually do in this film, and they end up having to land on the island, and, you know, shit hits the fan. Now, this movie is not perfect in any way. There's a lot of things I really love about this movie, and there's a lot of things that don't work as well. And one of the things for me that doesn't work is that there's just some super over-the-top, not really believable moments. And I think that this is the first film that really took the Jurassic Park films to that level. You know, now, you know, you have movies like Jurassic World where Chris Pratt is literally riding on a motorcycle while a bunch of raptors run next to him. And as cool as that scene is, you know, it just shows that the franchise has definitely gone from more of a grounded approach that the first one had. Obviously, there's still sci-fi elements, or this one kind of takes things to a much bigger way as far as the action, the kind of things that some of the characters are able to do and withstand. And that's not to say that it's too over the top. I personally really enjoy this film, and I still think it's pretty grounded compared to where the sequels have gone at this point. So I won't get too much deeper into what the actual narrative is about. What I can really say about this film is that it's really exciting. I think some of the coolest dinosaur action sequences that are in this entire franchise are in this film. I really love the performance of Dr. Grant coming back by Sam Niell. I think that he really just, it's my favorite character that he's ever played. I just love him in the first movie and in this one, and I've always just told myself, please, Lord Jesus, let them bring Dr. Grant back for the next Jurassic World. I was hoping he'd be in the first Jurassic World. He wasn't. I was hoping he would be in the second Jurassic World, and he was not. Though we did get about 30 seconds or so of Ian Malcolm, which was all in the trailer, and very disappointing to see that it was only about a minute worth of screen time. But I've always really wanted to see Dr. Grant return, and it's just been a big bummer throughout the years to see that, you know, they haven't brought Sam Niell back to play Dr. Grant again, because I think, again, it's my favorite role that he's ever played. And like I mentioned before, Laura Dern does return in this film as Ellie, but they really sidelined her in this film, and she really doesn't play a huge role in the overall narrative. However, she does have some impactful moments, specifically one near the end of the film that I've always really loved. There's a moment on a phone call, really quick phone call between Dr. Grant and Ellie, and I've always just loved that moment and how they both interacted, even though obviously they're in completely two different situations. But I've always loved the two actors and the characters in that moment specifically. If you've seen the movie, you know what moment I'm talking about. Outside of the returning characters, I could definitely say that a lot of the other characters are kind of just there, like I mentioned before, to die, and some of them are kind of annoying, but I honestly never, everybody kind of makes sense for the kind of character that they're written to be. And if you watch my review for The Lost World, one of my issues I had with that film was the fact that there's so many characters that are written to be far more intelligent than they actually are when the film is actually happening. You have characters that talk about the different experiences that they've had, and that they've worked with wild animals and dangerous animals, and they've, you know, this, that, and the other, and then they would make decisions that you feel like, whether this was a dinosaur or not, if you made that decision with other animals that you talked about working with, you probably would have gotten yourself killed in those situations as well. And that was a big problem I had with the second film. It just felt like there was a big lapse in logic. And in this film, for me, I really enjoy the fact that the characters are written intelligently again, or at least written to the kind of character that they are. So if a character already makes rash decisions, is easily emotional, and gets, you know, angry really quickly, or you know, screams, you know, you already kind of have that character set up to be that character, and they make dumb decisions throughout the film that obviously progress some of the danger and things that happen. And some people may find that just to be flat out annoying, but I personally don't mind it as long as the character is consistent and the type of character that they're written to be. And I think that this movie does that very well. The characters all feel consistent in who they want to be. There's a few over-the-top elements, like I mentioned before, but nothing that really takes away from the film, at least for me. And I've really always loved the action sequences in this movie. One of my favorite things. I've always really loved the camera work and the look of this film too. Yeah, I definitely love this way more than The Lost World, and it's a close second contender for me with the first Jurassic Park. I really love the first Jurassic World too, and I'm going to be doing a review for that as well, and that one's definitely high up there for me as well. I've always just really loved this film, the characters that are reprised in this film. The new characters, I don't mind them. I enjoy the role that they play in this film. The big action sequences are so much fun, like I've mentioned multiple times in this review. And one of my favorite things about it is the animatronics. I love that they, you know, kept the animatronic feel from the first two movies. You know, we've definitely steered away from that now with the Jurassic World films, where majority of the dinosaurs are CG, and it's clear that they're CG. Now, I don't mind CGI in films. I've spoken about this in previous videos. Like, some people are bothered by it, but for me personally, I don't mind CGI as long as it's used well. When it comes to Jurassic Park, the fact that they've been able to do things so effectively with such realistic, creepy, and just phenomenally, you know, authentic dinosaur animatronics, you know, it's kind of a bummer that some of the newest films haven't really tapped into that as much. But this film, the third one, I feel does such a great job of having the CG when, you know, obviously the moment's too big and you have to have the big CG dinosaur, but also having great moments with animatronic dinosaurs. There's a new main big dinosaur in this film called the Spinosaurus, and yeah, the animatronic for this creature is super awesome and imposing. I really love how big and crazy it looks, and you obviously have some great raptor animatronics as well. I really love the fact that they were able to keep that animatronic feel throughout the film. So I really don't have too much more to say about this film, guys. I highly recommend it if you've never seen it, if it's just one of those films that you haven't gotten around to seeing. I think it's definitely underrated. You know, I think the performances are great. It's very well shot. It's got some great action, some over-the-top elements, and I can see why some people will be disappointed with some of the decisions made based on the characters that we had in previous films. And, you know, I brought up earlier the whole, you know, fact that Dr. Grant and Ellie are no longer together, but that you know, personally just didn't bother me. It just didn't take away from the film for me personally, and I really just enjoy the fact that they were able to retain friendship, and it seemed like a more realistic kind of idea that Dr. Dr. Grant kind of fell back into his work hardcore, and you know, she became a mother with somebody else, and then they just kind of fell apart, and you know, but they were able to still retain friendship, you know, and in the end of the day, that's really kind of one of the biggest parts between their relationship in this film alone. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be the end of my review. What did you guys think of Jurassic Park 3? You know, did you love it? Did you hate it? I know a lot of people have like mixed feelings on this film. I really do lean towards the much more enjoying this film, and I know some people just hate it. So I'm very curious, what is it about the film that you hate so much? What is it that just takes away from this, you know, the Jurassic Park experience for you if you don't like it? And if you do love it, let me know what you like about it as well. Make sure you leave a comment down below, hit that like button and subscribe, hit the little bell icon so that you can get notifications for my future videos, guys. Thank you so much for watching, continually watching. For those of you that have been watching and commenting on every video, I see you, I'm talking to you, I appreciate it so much. I love being able to get in discussions and debates with some of you guys in a super cool and respectful way down in the comments. I'm really appreciating what this channel is slowly growing to be. So thank you guys so much. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.